The Dingers podcast is on the air. I'm your host, Mitch. I'm here with my boys, Kevin, Jeff, and Jake. Remember, we are live on YouTube on the On Tap Sports Network YouTube channel. So check us out there every Monday night around 8:30-ish. So go check us out there and just go check out our friends at Cubs on Tap and go to check out ontapsportsnetwork.com where you can get the latest in all Chicago sports. Fellas, how are we feeling after going 3 of 4 with the Diamondbacks? Tough series. We did sweep the Giants before, but here we are, lost 3 of 4 in a crucial down the stretch series where we needed to get some wins. How are we feeling after that there, Jeffrey? Or do you want to jump straight to, if you're watching live on video,
since you
decked
look
out in
ugly.
all Bears fans or in all Bears gear? Do you want to rub that in quick, or do we want to jump right to talking about the Cubs?
I just want to say I learned a long time ago not to do too much chirping.
That's not how you behave in the morning at workout at all. You chirp the entire time.
We were getting all these texts from Jeff this morning about a Bears-Packers score, and I are you okay? Because the season hasn't started yet, so I don't know what
We're 1-0.
I don't know what world you're in, man.
We'll see you at the end of December.
I'm living over here in the world of delusion, and I'm feeling great. I'm feeling absolutely great. So I'm excited. You're excited for your cute little Green Bay Packers to start their season.
Yeah.
And just like the umpire in this game, Jeff might be full of cheese.
No, after losing 3 or 4 to the Diamondbacks, I'm all right with it. After the way that the series went in San Francisco, where we had some come from behind wins, there had to have been a little bit of momentum, wind taken out of our sails. So I expected to lose at least a game or two. And don't forget that Arizona is also in the playoff hunt, just like us. So they weren't just going to hand us a bunch of ball games. And we lost 6-2. 3-2, 1-0, and then we won 5-2. So it's not like we got blown out and looked terrible. It's just our offense slumped a few games. Our starting pitching was great. Bullpen wasn't too bad. So other than that, I'm all right with it. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, so I was at the Saturday game with my buddy Eric, and beautiful day for a ball game. Really couldn't ask for better weather. I thought it was going to be cooler, so I made the mistake of wearing jeans.
Swampy.
The tops of my legs didn't get sunburned, so there's the positive.
There's the Bears fan in you.
It just felt kind of the way I look at it from coming off the weekend was of course we lost to Ryan Nelson, a guy who had like a 6 ERA or something like that, or worse. But also a guy that coming into the season, there were some pitching pundits, whatever you want to call it, all the different pitching websites and writers that are out there that were kind of excited about Ryan Nelson. He had some good shapes to his pitches, and people were excited about him coming into the season. I think he had a decent start to his season last year, so of course he figures it out against the Cubs. Like every time it feels like there's a team or a player, specifically pitchers, that need to figure something out. They play the Cubs and they've figured it out. But it's also worth noting, they are third in the wild card race right now. So while the Cubs are still 2 games up in the wild card position on the Diamondbacks have to tread water above all the teams below them. So the Cubs can still drop a spot, which, of course, I still think that you'd think the team is still playing to win the division. I'm sure if you asked anybody on the roster, they'd say that because it's still within reach. But sorry, I'm getting distracted by this umpire situation. We got the ump with the gear coming out. I think it is a different ump.
I think it is as well.
There's a guy. Okay, really quickly here. There is a guy dressed as Steve Bartman behind home plate. This is a total side. This has nothing to do with what's going on with the Cubs right now. Stop it.
Oh, I see it.
Leave Steve Bartman alone. Cubs fans are over it. That guy behind home plate, if that guy is a Cubs fan, sorry to drop it 5 minutes into the pod, fuck that guy. If you are a Cubs fan and you say anything about Steve Bartman, you're not a Cubs fan. Get over it. We won. Leave the man alone. And if you're not a Cubs fan, fuck you too. It's what, like, the national narrative. I remember we were watching a national
20 years
broadcast. Ago. Yeah. I remember watching a national broadcast earlier this season, and it was like, I think maybe like Carl Ravitch or a baseball guy that I respect was talking about Bartman, like talking about the Bartman seats. Get over it. Get over it. I'm so sick of it. Leave the man who, by all accounts, was a huge Cubs fan. He was at an NLCS game, front row. Leave him alone. Okay? There's my rant. Now, getting back to things. To finish my point, the Diamondbacks have more to play for, theoretically, than the Cubs right now. There's more on the line for them, and it showed. And it sucked that it worked out. We didn't face Zach Davies. We faced Zach Gallen, who has Cy Young stuff. He is going to win a Cy Young before he retires. It's going to happen. And Merrill Kelly, he's going to
make, I believe, bank here in like 2 years.
Yeah. So we matched up against two guys that were really good. We wasted a Steele start, but it was great to see Steele continue to shove. I mean, he had a fantastic outing on Saturday. The bats just didn't show up for whatever reason. I'm not worried about slumping necessarily yet. I'm glad that Ross made the lineup changes that he needed to. I know Ian Mahan is really excited about that. So the lineup changes played well for the team yesterday, and we got the win against a weaker pitcher in Brandon Pfaadt. So
yeah,
I'm considering that we have this set in Coors Field against the team that I think that has given up the most runs in MLB this year. I feel okay. It could have been better. I would have liked to win the series, if not split, but I did not feel depressed or upset coming out of that series. How about you, Kevin?
You know, I feel the same. Honestly, I was more upset about like the great starting pitching outings that we had, and like Tyone putting one together. Steele just continuing to do what he does. Didn't Assad had a really good start too? I mean, that score looks funky. I can't remember if those were his or not. But overall, I'm okay with where we ended up. We wanted meaningful baseball in September. We've got meaningful baseball in September. Unfortunately, it means we're going to lose some because we got other teams that are also trying to win the game. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm glad we didn't lose any ground. I mean, we're 3 games behind the Brewers. I think we're about 3 games behind the Brewers when the series started. Maybe.
Thank you, Yankees.
Yes, thank you, Yankees. I mean, it took some help, but even then, it just shows you where the Central's at right now. Nobody's running away with it. I mean, we still have a 3-game series against Milwaukee to end the season on. Would like to maybe be maybe ahead by the time we get there. Maybe this Colorado stint will be nice. Maybe it'll get Wisdom to knock some dingers. Maybe get a little hot.
Of course, the Brewers, last I checked, were winning 6-0 over the Marlins. So thanks a lot, Marlins.
We can't have that.
No,
of course.
I want to win the division too, but for me, I just want to get into the playoffs at any cost. So if them beating the Marlins helps us get into the wild card when the season ends, I'm totally okay with that. Because at this point, like, we're either going to play the Phillies or we're going to play the other wild card, no matter what. So, because we're not going to beat either the Braves or the who's the other team? The top team, Dodgers, Braves and Dodgers. We're not going to overtake them. So so we're either going to play the other wild card or we're going to play the Phillies or the Brewers. So it's like, I'm good with whatever. Just get into the playoffs. As far as the Diamondback series, like, it stinks that we wasted 2 outings from our pitchers, Tyone especially, when he pitched amazing. And for us not to put the bats together to win that game, it stinks. But I try to look at it as a bigger picture of like, and try not to overreact, but watching Cubs fans overreacting in the 7th in both back-to-back games, the Friday and Saturday game, of overreacting in like the 7th and 8th inning, or 6th, 7th, 8th inning. It's like, guys, like, have you not watched this team play? Why are we ever giving up on them? Do you not remember like 2 weeks ago, Christopher Morel hitting a walk-off home run when everybody was counting the Cubs out? Like, don't give up on this team. Don't sleep on this team. They're gonna do some amazing things. They're fun. They're not. I think I saw over and over saying like, this team looks flat today. It's like, no, they're just running into a buzzsaw of Gallen on the mound. Like, it happens. Sometimes the bats go silent. Like, I would take a 1-0 loss or losing by 1 run any day of the week. Those are tough losses, but I'd rather that, because that means that not all assets of the game you were bad at. Like, if you're losing 10-0 or 14-2, that means you were bad at pitching, bad at defense, bad at hitting. At least when you're losing 1-0, it means like you put it together pitching wise. Your bats just didn't show up. And that happens. That happens in Major League Baseball. That happens to the best of teams. And so it's like, you kind of have to, like, one, not give up on the team, because they could get hot any inning and put 7 on the board. So I'm okay. Like, I'm really glad they won Sunday. I can say this because they won Sunday. That helps out the situation a ton for us as Cubs fans, that we just kind of stay the same in division and as well and the wild card. So I feel a lot better with us winning. Now, here we are in Colorado, and we're playing the Rockies. The Rockies are horrible. In the last 10, they're 2-8. In the last 20, they're 4-16. In the last 30, they're 7-23. If we don't take 3 here when we need it, like, we need the bats to wake up. We need them to put up some runs, especially like Jake just saying, like, Colorado's given up the most runs in all of baseball. Like, we need to have some decent, solid pitching, which we're getting good outing from Wicks tonight. Like, keep putting it together. And we've seen, we can jump into a little bit of what we're going to talk about tonight. Starting out with Dansby Swanson. Like, he went through a stretch up until like the Giants series, going back all the way to, I think it was the White Sox series, going all the way back to that series. He went through a funk, and he was batting like in that stretch below 100. Striking out a ton. The strikeout rate was catching up. He was chasing a lot of high fastballs and just getting beat by them, which was really nice to see him face the pitcher we saw yesterday. What was the guy's name?
Brandon Pfaadt. Brandon Pfaadt was the bulk.
Yeah, because the home run that Dansby hit was a high fastball that Pfaadt just doesn't have the stuff like he was facing with Gallen, and got on top of it and drove it out. Like, I think Dansby needed that, and needed that whole series, because there are 2-3 games in a row he put together some really good at bats, and you see him kind of put it together. So I'm really excited to see him face the Rockies to get hot again against some poor pitching. Hopefully that carries it over when we do face the D-backs again, and then at the end, the Braves and Brewers. What else did you kind of see with Dansby? What are you liking there, Jake?
I knew you were going to call on me. I look, the power numbers are still there. It's another 20 home run season.
20 home run season.
I honestly haven't dived into his numbers that much, because I think that he's done enough that I don't feel like he's been a black hole in the lineup.
Yeah.
249 average, 752 OPS. I'd like to see a Dansby OPS over 800. He's obviously capable of doing that. One thing that I saw a tweet on Saturday, something about somebody had talked the slump of whatever is over, if it was an over, whatever. Somebody mentioned his slumping, and said that Sunday would be a good day for Ross to give Dansby the day off. And then, of course, as you just said, Mitch, no day off. He went off on Sunday. So it's interesting how that worked. But we know the narrative has been, since the Cubs signed Dansby, that he's a guy that wants to play 162 games. Well, I can't imagine playing 162 baseball games. Even at the maybe the quicken pace might actually even be harder on the body now. the quicker games. There's more action in the field. The guys are probably, they're moving around more, shifting less, but moving around in between pitches more frequently. So it could be that there's been a narrative of talking about how pitchers are adapting to the pitch clock, but what if, fielders, especially a shortstop who's the anchor of the defense, is moving around and playing as many games as Dansby is? If he continues, especially in Colorado, if he continues to have some trouble at the plate, I'd like to see a Dansby day off and a reset. I'm not overly concerned, but that's just kind of like the top of my mind analysis. I haven't dived into his to look at his swing, the zone swing, O swing, that kind of thing. But I don't know, Jeff, Kevin, what are you guys thinking on Dansby?
I think it's just kind of the ebbs and flows of a season.
Yeah.
It's just not everybody can kind of keep that plane and stay on an even keel and kind of ramp up a little bit and keep that, that consistency. I mean, people dip all the time. It's just a little slump. And he worked out of it.
Yeah, and I've been encouraged because his defensive metrics aren't changing. I mean, he's still a Gold Glove shortstop. You see that sometimes when they're thinking a little too hard on their offensive production, their defense slides a little bit. Doesn't seem to be a thing that affects Dansby, which is fantastic. I mean, he's like watching Butter out there. Just saw a play a moment ago where he's like backpedaling behind second base, just easy toss over to first. It was good to see him get out of it. Unfortunately, I think the timing wise of it is that a bunch of other players were slumping at the same time as Dansby. So you can't mask those mini slumps like Jeff brought up that players go through when Candelario's struggling. Hap's been he's been hitting the ball well, but his whole Hap season's kind of interesting. I'm interested to see this at the end of the season, how his average shakes out, because he's taken so many walks, which is fantastic in a lot of results, but maybe slugging's down. But overall, I'm not worried about it. I think if anything, you want him to slump now so that he can turn it on again and be ready to get into October baseball.
True.
Yeah. And you brought up Jeimer Candelario. How concerned are we with Jeimer? I mean, even yesterday, left yesterday's game with some back soreness and back tightness. He's not in the lineup today, or is he? He's not in the lineup today.
I don't think so.
Over the last 2 weeks, he's hitting just .096 with a WRC plus of 29, with a K rate of 26.2 over the last 2 weeks. Like, how concerned are we there? We need Jeimer. We need his slug. We need him to be able to hit like he was with the Nationals, of finding the gaps and hitting a lot of doubles. When you went for a stretch like we did, where we had Belly and Saya basically carrying our team, where you had them two as the run producers, and I'm going to say it, Nick Madrigal being the guy who kind of getting on, and Jan Gomes being the guy who kind of set them up. And Go Horner, but like the other guys where you count on with Dansby, Jeimer, Hap, were kind of just silent. You had Belly and Saya carrying the team. And when those guys went through a couple games of struggle, you didn't see the other guys rise up. And so Candelario being one of them, how concerned are we with his stretch and with his injury? Jeff, what do you think?
I think we need to rest him. I don't think we need to put him on the IL. I just think we need to skip a couple games, because he could have injured himself a couple weeks ago when he started hitting poorly. I mean, look at how the back problems that Rizzo had, and how his batting suffered when he was going through that back tightness thing. That's my personal thoughts anyway.
Kevin, what do you got?
Yeah, I have two thoughts on this right now. I don't know how much you can sit players in September to try to get them right. At the same time, what else are you going to do? So it kind of goes both ways. With the call up of PCA, this is a great opportunity to sit Jeimer and move Mr. Bellinger to first base, and then see a new person rove in center field. Good timing on that part. we aren't going to really argue on sitting Jamer at this time if we're seeing that in the outfield. So, maybe it works out well there. And you ride that hot bat, maybe, sometimes the new guys, when they come up, they can do well. Sometimes they do poorly, but if they do well, it tends to be that they can ride that for about a week or so before the pitchers figure them out.
And for you guys that get super upset today that PCA isn't in the lineup, please understand that he was on a flight today or this morning from Iowa to Denver, and it's really hard to make your debut after a travel day. They want to give him a day to just enjoy getting around the team. He'll be in the lineup, I guarantee, tomorrow. I'm calling. He will get a start tomorrow.
I would be shocked if he is not.
And so, just
are we?
I get your excitement.
Are we sure it was a flight? I mean, he may have had to drive. That's a really boring drive. He's gonna need to take a.
It is a brutal drive from experience. Yeah.
But yeah, I love your point, Kevin, of that whole thing of with Jamer going down, it's good that we could rest him. Maybe this whole series with an off day. I think we have an off day on Thursday. It'd be the perfect time to rest him this series, get Bellinger at first base, let PCA roam the outfield and center, and then have Tauchman kind of pinch hit and fill in when we need. And I think it works out right now in the timing. It's just going to be are we going to shuffle some things around when it comes to now Elsley being on the IL. You have then Fulmer coming back. Just how we're going to shuffle some things around, and we can talk a little bit about Stroman. Let's jump to that conversation.
Really quick. Yeah, really quick. I want to say something about Candelario. I think the biggest bummer of his performance has been it. If you look at the bigger picture, it kind of takes away the idea of the Cubs maybe re-signing him in the offseason. This kind of could have been, I don't know if the front office, Mitch, that Hap just flew out to the warning track, and at Coors, you would think that maybe that would carry to the wall. But you would kind of think that the Cubs would have treated the trade for Jamer as kind of an audition, right? To see how he was playing. Of course, Jed came out and said he believed in the glove. They believed in the glove. I haven't seen any issues really with the glove. At the beginning, playing first base, he hadn't played first base in a while. I think there were a couple miscues, but overall, I haven't noticed any issues. But the offense, it stinks. It stinks that he's gotten cold when this is his opportunity to prove that he has a place on this Cubs roster in the future at a position where the Cubs need some solid contributions. Again, we all know that I'm a huge Nick Madrigal fan, but I would like to see a little bit of bop out of a third baseman that Madrigal doesn't have unless we can find it somewhere else in the lineup. So that's kind of my main takeaway of this Candelario thing. And I do think I would not be upset with him getting an IL stint. It would be, if this is that bad, it could be something that's backdated too, right? But that if it's, that could be something that opens up a spot, right? Does it have to be 60-day IL to get somebody on the 40-man, or it can be the 15-day, can't it? I'll look into that. But Mitch, I
want to talk a little bit about let's since we talked about PCA, how is PCA going to fit into this team? What is your expectations of PCA? He's not going to start every game. What I think is he's going to play a key role on the base paths late in games, and then being able to just find matchups where we can get him on the base pass and get him to just get playing time. I don't think he's going to start a ton, but after watching the Diamondbacks and seeing Corbin Carroll, if PCA could be anything like Corbin Carroll for us down the road, they are very similar. Player makeup, speed, play the outfield, can go get it out in the outfield. PCA is a better outfielder than Carroll. But it makes me excited because I was sick of seeing Carroll play against the Cubs and to know that we have to play another 3 games against the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are good. Like the
Diamondbacks are very
Lawler
good.
is good. They got some guys.
I think Cubs fans didn't understand that coming into the series. Like they do have some guys. They have pitching. Their bullpen's been shaky, but it did well against us. I think the one thing I want to say, I kind of want to pump the brakes a little bit. PCA, yes, is a better defender than Corbin Carroll, which is saying something because Corbin Carroll, I believe, rates as a plus defender, but we all know that PCA, the big thing is, he's been ready to play center field at the major league level for the last three years or whatever. The bat is not going to be Corbin Carroll-esque. I don't think we're going to see a ton of pop, like the pop that we saw in the minor leagues out of PCA. I would be stoked if we got like a 15 homer, 30 plus steal season. That I think is doable, but I don't think he's going to get. Corbin Carroll's 2020 has a 2020 already this year in his rookie season. That's like unheard of. I mean, I think that the list of rookies that have done that is very, very low. It's like him, Julio Rodriguez, and like.
But I would totally make a 15 home run, 30 steals.
Totally. Yeah.
But I think they play similar styles.
So we're gonna do like a Kenny Lofton type.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No. And I think his wheels will play up. His slugging percentage. I still think we can expect good things from PCA, but I don't want to. I see what you're saying, Mitch. Like their intensity level is similar, and that's going to be exciting to watch.
Jeff, how do you think we're going to use PCA these last 18 games
on the ball diamond?
Yes, on the ball diamond.
Yeah, that was my answer.
Yeah, that's
no defense, man.
That tracks for a Packers fan.
I don't know, Jeff. With the way we haven't used Canario, maybe he won't be used on the ball diamond.
Hey,
we're going there.
The guy got a pitch hit. All right, what else you want?
But I like what you're saying, Jeff. Like I think him being a late inning defensive substitution or like coming in pinch running for a guy and then being put out in the outfield as a defensive replacement definitely could probably happen. And I could see Half maybe being the odd man out late in the games of like when we want some guys to go get it, like the Talkman, PCA, Seiya out there. I can see that happening out in our outfield. So, I mean, I love it. I love that we called him up now. Chicago needed it after a tough series with the Diamondbacks and the Bears losing. We needed it. We needed PCA. So it was good. But let's get into what I brought up earlier about Stroman. It's been reported that Stroman is in Arizona, working up to, I think, like 25, 30 pitches. And their plan is that he could come back and be a bullpen arm. They don't have enough time to stretch him out to be a starter, but could be an asset in the bullpen. Do you like this idea? Do you think, let's go for it? Do you think, one, how is it going to shake up the bullpen? What inning do you think it would be a Stroman inning? How do you see that playing out, Kevin?
I like it. He's a gamer. He's a ball player. He wants to be in there in the big moments. He wants to be in the playoffs. I think he'll bring it at the time. I'm interested to see I'm a little worried, you go out there with a little too much juice and you throw a little too hard and maybe you hurt yourself a little more. Out of the bullpen, maybe, but that's the pessimist side of me. At the other side, I think it'll be a lot of fun to watch, but I have no idea I haven't thought through how you would deploy him. Is it the one inning? Yeah, Jake was shaking. That was nodding along with that. I have no idea how that would work.
I think it's more of a bulk innings guy. I think that because of the gamer that Stroman is, first, I'll kind of backtrack that statement. I think that he will fill any role that he can for a playoff team, especially considering he has the opt-out. I think after the injury-riddled season, he probably will not opt out for free agency, but who knows? It could depend on how he performs down the stretch here when he comes back. But you look at the bullpen right now, and two names stand out to me of guys that he could replace. Smiley and Wisniewski. And I know that based on the starting performances that we saw from Smiley, I think fans would say, oh, get him out of here. I disagree with that. Same. I think Wisniewski has been not good. Like, he has been extremely inconsistent. He looks defeated sometimes on the mound, and Stroman's not going to play that. He's going to be mentally prepared. He's going to be a gamer. The Bulldog mentality is going to be out there. And I don't really want Hayden pitching in potential high leverage spots down the stretch. I think, like, Cubs fans might say, like, well, what about Smiley? Smiley's pitched on contending teams. He was on the Braves last season. Like, I not to mention, of course, he's a lefty, and we need a lefty out of the pen. So that's kind of where I would see, because, yeah, he's not going to get stretched out. Stroman's not going to get stretched out in time to be back in the rotation, which is fine because the rotation has pitched very well, with the exception of Tyone minus his last start. But, yeah, I think Stroh's going to slot in well into the bullpen. And I would imagine that Wisniewski is the corresponding move whenever, barring another injury, who knows, knock on wood, who knows what might happen.
I could see that being one, because I think Wisniewski has another option where he can be sent down.
I believe so.
The thing is, like, what game was it that he came in? I think it was in the Red Series where he was hitting like 98.
Yeah.
Pitched a really good inning. Really good. But then there's so many times that he looks lost out there, or he looks like he doesn't know where his pitches are going. He can't control them, and he's just trying to get by. Like, you can look like he's kind of lost out there, like, oh, like he's working extremely hard to get through an inning. And so that's where it's trouble. We don't need guys looking like they're trying to find outs. We want guys to attack and get outs. And so that's where I would be a little concerned. Where Smiley, I feel like he's looked pretty comfortable in the bullpen. His demeanor doesn't really change, and he's pitched pretty well when we've needed him.
And he's had experience as a reliever. We've talked about that on the show. So what is this? Is this the wins? Hang on, let me look really quick. Games, reliever. 9 games as a reliever, 17 innings for Smiley, 3.71 ERA, 1.24 WHIP, and he gets the ball on the ground more as a reliever, almost twice as often. So let's see, strikeout rate is up, which you typically tend to see with relievers because they can kind of let loose a little bit more in shorter stints. So yeah, I think Smiley plays as a reliever. I think that he could potentially, I hope that he does, pleasantly surprise Cubs fans down the stretch here as a lefty out in the bullpen.
Well, since we're talking about bullpen, we did bring up the Edbert Alzolay went on the 10-day IL, and now Michael Fulmer is back. How do we see Michael Fulmer being deployed in this bullpen? Jeff, how do you see Michael Fulmer making an impact? He was a guy who we leaned on heavily towards the end before he went on the injured list. How do we kind of see that going forward?
Oh, I think we're going to see his season come full circle. He started the season out as our closer, and I think he's going to be the biggest piece of the closing action. I think there's people out there that think it's going to be closer by committee with Merriweather and probably lighter, but I think Fulmer's probably going to get the majority of those calls out of the pen to close out games while Alzolay is on the IL.
I mean, I could see that because I think Ross really trusted Fulmer before the injury. I really think this whole I think there is a forearm strain with Alzolay, but I think they put these 10-day IL stints because you could see them running out of juice. Like, they've been really heavily used and leaned on in big, huge situations. We've had a lot of one-run games, and they've been relied on to get us through those. And it's just, they're tired. They need a little bit. And they're like, okay, how can we put them in on IL now and get them back still when we need it for the last 2 series when we're facing the Braves and Brewers, those are going to be huge games. And I really hope the Braves have won enough games where they're sitting Acuna. They can sit him the whole series if I like, please. But like we're gonna need them down the stretch, and so
What they call it, like a forearm strain, almost like tennis elbow or something.
Forearm strain is, depending on the severity, a lot of the time you see forearm issue, and the first thought is Tommy John, is a torn UCL. Not always. Could be a strain, can also be a partial tear. You see rest and rehab as that's worked out for some guys, and then they also, depending on the type of tear or how severe it is, you can do an elbow brace now. I know a guy who got professionally, what's his name? Trevor Story, obviously a position player, but he got the elbow brace surgery. I know a guy who pitched professionally who also got the elbow brace surgery. So hopefully it's nothing super major. I'm sure we'll find out more information. Maybe on the broadcast they've talked about it. Who knows? If not, I'm sure we'll hear more tomorrow. But Jeff, I think
I currently have a right forearm strain, but I do like the muscle it runs right up through that connects to my elbow. I can't grip things for extremely long time. Like it just like hurts. And like every time I move my wrist, there's a strain there in that.
So
muscle.
is Tommy John on the underside of it there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I feel it right
depends
here.
on
Inside.
Like at the gym, I feel it here.
So it kind of depends on where we're at. Like there is quite a bit of muscles that make up your forearm. Like where's he feeling? And he said his fastball, he wasn't feeling anything on his fastball. He could throw his fastball. It was his secondary pitches that was where he would feel a little bit of like.
That's not good. That's not good. That's more likely to be worse. So this is well over a decade ago, but I tore my almost 20 years ago. I partially tore my UCL. And it was from throwing curveballs, and it's the motion, the supination on pitches. Of course, it's guys.
I think
guys
he was
at the major league level. It's
when I think Elsley was saying he couldn't control his changeup. That was the pitch, and I think it was this. So it might be like the
pronation.
Yeah. That was the one he was really struggling because you even saw in his last
supination.
Yeah.
Pronation.
So you even saw in his last outing. He stuck to more of his slider, and he didn't throw his changeup hardly at all. He worked through jams with throwing fastball slider. He didn't throw his changeup hardly at all. And so
I do want to quickly touch on Jeff's point. I think it'd be interesting to see Fulmer come full circle, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think Julian Merriweather has been so damn good as Morel hits a dinger.
Morel dinger.
Yeah. Was that your pick?
No,
I picked him.
No, you did not.
No, you didn't. Nice
try.
Bellinger.
Prove it.
I had Hab.
We've got receipts. Julian Merriweather has been so good the last 2 months. In September and August. So August 1.93 with a 0.86 whip, 21 strikeouts in 14 innings. September 1.8 ERA, 5 innings, 8 strikeouts, 0.071 whip. No. Is that right? That's not right. 1 whip and 0.86 whip in August. So this dude is legit. And I remember when the Cubs claimed him, I believe I had mentioned that he had been in the running for the Blue Jays closer role before Jordan Romano, who turned out to be a stud, took it over with ease. Merriweather didn't really find his footing in Toronto. Obviously, that's why he ended up on waivers. But the Cubs have figured something out with him this year, and he has been very, very good. July was a rough month for him, but every other month, June, 12 appearances, no runs, 19 strikeouts in 12 innings. The dude is filthy. So I could see Fulmer setting up I think he'll still get high leverage situations, but I would expect to see Merriweather in the 9th inning.
Since we're talking about bullpen, I want to give Kwas his rightful minute of his ERA since joining the Cubs is like 0.98. He's been absolutely lights out. Like, the only thing that's gonna hurt Kwas is walks. And so if he can like not walk guys, people aren't gonna hit him. Like he is exactly what we need in the bullpen, just a little bit of a change of the eye levels and what he's throwing. So I love it. Love him, the addition and what he's done. Yeah, he's been huge. You're muted, Jeff.
Just the way we like him.
Yeah, be quiet. Wasn't his ERA like with Kansas City like north of 3?
It was 4.54 with Kansas City, and it's 1.17 with the Cubs.
He did have a couple starts in there where he was a starter to like start the season, and he got hit around quite a bit. And then he got moved directly to the bullpen, and then I think that's where he's going to see more success with what he brings in his pitch mix. He's definitely a bullpen guy, and his funky delivery.
Like he's in a wax museum,
but yeah.
That's Bush League, Kevin.
Sorry.
Lock it up. Are you really sure it's pronounced Quaz and not Q-as?
Pretty sure it's Quaz.
You should ask him.
Yeah.
Send him a video message.
Call him up. Make sure you wear your Packers gear while you do. Not that.
They just showed Morel and PCA talking in the dugout on air, and that's an electric combination, you guys. That's going to be incredible. That's going to be incredible.
How can you not be successful in Major League Baseball with curly ginger hair? Come on now.
I don't know.
Eventually he's going to hit like Mike Schmidt, right? Eventually he's going to hit like Mike Schmidt.
Ask Matt Merton.
That guy don't count.
He had his years.
He did. And I loved Matt Merton. I was a big Matt Merton fan, being out in left field all the time. But yeah, I mean, that dude raked in Japan. So.
Yeah, he did.
Hey, man, Jeff, you couldn't rake in Japan. So
yeah, the sand and the little.
Oh, whatever. The Zen Garden.
Yeah, and that's the only sand
I think you do. I think you'd excel there, Jeff.
Dude, I'm kind of particular about my sand.
All right, I got a couple questions. So quick hitters around. Cubs have 18 games left. What do they need to go in those 18 games to make the playoffs?
500.
No, they're going to have to win more than 500. What do you think the record is going to have to be?
To make the playoffs?
500 with help. I think you have to go 12-6.
See, and I was thinking 10-8, just to make it in.
Okay, so 12 of those games are the Rockies, Pirates, and D-backs, and then it rounds out with the Braves and the Brewers.
Yep.
They need to sweep. We already said it. They need to sweep this Rockies series. There's no excuse. And then the Rockies at home, the Rockies are worse on the road because of acclimating to altitude. So I need to see a double sweep of the Rockies.
So there's
six. So are those 9 games against Arizona, the Braves, and the Brewers? Is that 9? Is it 3 game sets?
Yes, 9.
Yes.
Yep.
We're gonna have to win some of those.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. But like Mitch said earlier, you wonder if the Braves might rest any of their offense.
That'd be great.
Matt Olson, you can take a day off. I give you permission to take a day off.
Acuna?
Max Fried, you don't want to throw extra pitches. You just
The problem is I do think that we're going to see some of their guys get days off, but not on the same day. Like Olson and Acuna won't be out of the lineup on the same day. And then we'll see just how deep that Braves roster is. And Cubs fans are going to be like, oh yeah, we're not ready. Like we're not ready. I mean, we have to go. So 18 games. We have to win like 11.
So that would be sweeping Colorado in both 6 games. So there's 6. Winning 2 versus Pirates, 7-8. Winning 1 versus D-backs, 1 versus Braves, and 1 versus the Brewers.
I think that's super doable. I think that is super doable. I think 11 is if the offense can play the way they had been playing before the Diamondbacks series, I think 11 wins is a conservative estimate.
I was gonna say 12. I think 12 for sure gets us in. 10-11 would be it would be some nail biting there. The last series versus the Braves, or Brewers. The last series of the Brewers. If we need to win 2 out of those 3, it's gonna be tough. Now, my other question: how concerned, and maybe this is me, but Kyle Hendricks, how confident are you in Kyle Hendricks towing the rubber going down the stretch? Now, we had a really good outing yesterday, but every single time it's a Hendricks day, I'm always in the back of my mind of this could be a game he gives up the long ball, a couple of them.
A lot, yeah.
And we get down early and we can't claw back. So how confident are you? I know, Jake, you love Kyle, and I do too. But he does kind of have that, he's either on and he's going to pitch like he did yesterday, or he's going to have a real big clunker. And it's usually the first or second inning that gets him.
Mm-hmm.
And so how confident are you in Kyle Hendricks?
I just don't want him to pitch to Atlanta anymore. He doesn't need to pitch in the Braves series. I don't know if we can work that out.
He lines up for the 3rd game right now.
Skip a start.
Yeah, I don't like him against the Braves either. Braves have definitely
have his number. Holy smokes.
Maybe that'll be the game they set Acuna and Matt Olson.
I don't know. I'm still more worried about Tyone, to be honest with you. When Tyone comes up, Hendricks, I'm almost always a little bit feeling okay, but I don't know.
I'm not real confident when either of them take the mound. I'm pins and needles when I watch him pitch.
The way that I feel about Hendricks is I think he's always going to figure out a way to give a serviceable start. They showed a stat, and this isn't what I'm seeing. Maybe it's just specifically the changeup. Let me see if I can find this really quick. Yeah, his changeup has a 33% whiff rate, which I don't know if they had to have just been talking changeups, but it was like the 3rd best changeup in the league. And we talked, I think I broke that down a couple episodes ago. I just think that Hendricks is going to find a way, man. I'm nervous about him against the Braves for sure. Because didn't we play the Braves earlier in the season and he got hammered?
He got hammered. That was the first game of the series that we ended up winning the last 3 or 2. And so we lost. Oh, where was it? Yeah, it was that one. We lost 8-0.
Okay, yeah. So I lied. He'll line up for the 2nd game of that series. But I'm not concerned. So he gets the Pirates. I'm not worried about him against the Diamondbacks after how he just performed yesterday. I believe in Kyle Hendricks. Like Jeff said, I think Tyone's the big question mark.
Yep. And I think we saw the game that he pitched, arm side run, he had it under control. You could tell from the first inning, he had his stuff. And so that's going to be the thing. Can he, put back-to-back starts together? Can we get a little stretch of good Tyone going? I think we did after the Yankees game. He had one other, I think the next start he did pretty good. And then there was a little bit of break. And then he had kind of had a clunker and went back to the old Tyone. So hopefully we can put another start together. He is going to be, is he pitching in this series versus the Rockies?
If he does it might
Friday?
not be till
It'll be Friday.
tomorrow.
No, he pitched Friday, right?
So it might not be tomorrow or Wednesday.
So
yeah. So, I mean, he could get the Rockies. That'd be a good offense for him to kind of attack and pitch against rather than the D-backs. I don't want to have the D-backs see him again because I think the second time they see him, they'll be on him a little bit, being this quick of a turnaround. So, yeah, that's where we're at. All right, that's all I have. I mean, I don't have anything much more. It's fun. We're watching meaningful games and enjoy the ride because it's only gonna get better and it's only gonna get more intense as we nail down, especially if it gets to where we need to put some wins together the last two series versus the Braves and Brewers. But again, here we got 3 versus the Rockies, and the next week is going to be huge. Can we put away the teams that we should put away, and the Pirates and Rockies next week? That's going to be telling. We need those games.
I want to read Scott C's comment really quick. Belly's a winner, needs to be extended for life. Let's end on that note because I agree. If Bellinger is not a Cub next season, the front office messed up.
Yep, I think they're going to bring him back. I
agree.
I got it. All right, that does it for episode 136 of the Dingers podcast. Make sure you go checking out Cubs on Tap, their podcast. They're going to be, I think, on after today's game, doing the post game. So check out them. They do more post game reactions and stuff. So go check those guys out. They're awesome over there. Got great takes. We love those guys over there. And make sure you're subscribed to the On Tap Sports Network YouTube channel. That's where we're live. But you can find us wherever you find podcasts if you listen just the audio version. So thanks for subscribing and listening. We appreciate you guys. We're going to grind it out together. Just try to hold it together. All right, go Cubs.